All right, so good afternoon, everyone. We're here with Kristin Osentowski from the great state of Oklahoma. And you posted a petition on our page to try to drum up support for the reclassification in the state of Oklahoma. And here at Tell Your Story, we'd like to get an update on how that's working. And if you have any other news to share with our group.
All right, so I started the petition for Oklahoma because we don't have anything in legislation right now to reclassify. So this is something that I'm very passionate about. Myself and some coworkers were about, how frustrating it is not to be classified as first responders. So I kind of just took it upon myself to start this online petition. I shared it as much as I could. Right now we're up to almost 800 signatures, which isn't kind of what I wanted. I kind of wanted to at least try to get 1,000. Oklahoma is a pretty big state, but it's hard getting this stuff shared, across all platforms, getting people to sign it. I have maybe 150 comments on the petition of support, people, saying how surprised they are that we're not recognized as first responders. So basically what my plan is to print out the petition, all the signatures, the comments, and I'm going to attach those to all of my letters that I'll be sending out to members of Congress, legislation, state reps, and just attach that to my letter, so that they can kind of see that we do have support in this process.
That's an awesome idea.
Yeah.
One of the questions that I had was, in order to sign the petition, you have to be a resident of Oklahoma since you're focusing on Oklahoma.
Yeah, no, anybody can sign it. So that this particular website that I use is ipetitions.com. You do not have to be a resident of Oklahoma to sign it. You can sign up from anywhere. So that's why I urged everybody to share and sign. Like I've got family in Indiana, Kentucky. I shared all of it with them. They all were able to sign it and comment on it. So that's one of the good benefits of it, is it doesn't have to be just for residents of Oklahoma to sign. It can be anybody in the entire world, really.
That's a good thing to know, because if anyone else is having trouble in their state and want to try to do a petition, then those of us in other states can help back them up and hopefully make our petition stronger.
Exactly. Yeah.
If I may ask, how many counties are in Oklahoma?
Oh, you would ask me that. Well, my agency.
You're not being graded.
Yeah, my agency is one of the larger agencies in Oklahoma, but I honestly couldn't tell you. There's probably 50, if not a little bit more.
Okay, well, we have 55 here in West Virginia, and what I did, if I may go ahead and mention this now, when our county started, they were behind me all the way. They knew my background. I put in 16 years, and they were all for it. And so I contacted by phone the 54 other counties in a 3-day period and told them to make a proclamation making all of their dispatchers first responders. And they started in, some of them did about, how much of a raise are we going to get? How about workers' comp benefits? And I said, look, this is one step at a time. I have nothing to do with pay raises or anything like that. This is a matter of respect.
Right.
And it went to the legislature. They said I would have some trouble with it. I said, well, this is a political year, and maybe there needs to be some house cleaning. Well, they took a vote in the legislature, both houses, and there was not a negative vote on either side. And then it was signed by the governor.
Yeah, and that's kind of my thinking on it as well, is I'm more of I just want us to be acknowledged. I just want our profession to be recognized and acknowledged for what it is. We are nowhere near being a clerical position, in my opinion. So that's just one of the main things for me, is just the respect aspect of it. Just acknowledge us for what we do, basically.
And so I like the idea of the petition. Now, I think what Rebecca was going towards, and even I had the same question, and probably quite a few of our members, is that the petition itself is not like legally binding or recognized by the state, so you can have the members and people from all over the country sign the petition. But I like your idea that even though it's not going to be in that kind of petition, you can then use that those numbers and that name and or their name and the comments that were attached to it as evidence of support. So that's a great idea, and that's food for thought for the other members in our group page that currently live in a state that's gray on the map. Right. And I noticed that Oklahoma, you got a green Texas and a green Kansas right above you. So maybe that's another type of evidence that you could kind of throw at your legislatures.
That's one thing I was going to say, was that now with Kansas passing, now Oklahoma is sandwiched between the two, and so maybe if we can get Oklahoma, then hey, we got a triple decker there that we can kind of build more support on.
Right. And I was ecstatic when I found out that Kansas passed. I was like, another state, sent to us is green on the map. So that is definitely hopefully going to be a benefit for us moving forward. I hope so, but it does make me hopeful that Oklahoma can maybe kind of get the ball rolling on some of this stuff. But that's kind of the goal for, all of us in Oklahoma that want to be recognized. So I'm just hoping that happens here soon.
The legislative members will see that the wagons are circled around the campfire and everybody is green all around. They're not going to want to be left out. That's votes in their state. That's recognition in their state. And our recognition in West Virginia really did a lot for the dispatchers' morale.
Yeah, I agree. And seeing us kind of sandwiched between those two green states only fuels my fire a little bit more. And I hope it fuels everybody else's as well to see that, because you're like, man, other states are doing it. Why can't we get this done? So that's definitely motivation.
Right.
That's a huge
do you know off the top of your head, are any of your states, or counties, are they considered, and I don't know how I have the correct terminology, are they more like federal grounds? Like we have a county here in Wisconsin that is, while it's a county within Wisconsin, they are considered federal lands because it's one of the Indian tribes, primarily. So do you guys, and I know, Oklahoma back in the day was, heavy with Indian land. So do you have any counties that are like kind of set up that way?
Well, I know that we do have some tribal areas in Oklahoma. But we also have a separate dispatcher Facebook page for just dispatchers in Oklahoma, which has been great because we can kind of discuss some of the stuff. I haven't seen anybody from the tribal jurisdictions that have voiced any of that, so that I'm not sure of.
And that's something to reach out then.
Yeah,
that's a great point, Rebecca.
I mean, that's one county. It's like I don't know how to address it in my state because it's like they don't have the typical county government.
Right. Yeah, that is a good point, and I should try to reach out and maybe kind of just ask them some questions.
But they have a lot of times they have their own law enforcement, so I would assume they'd have their own dispatch centers, or perhaps the county dispatches for them, just like a mutual aid kind of thing. I mean, that's definitely something that I don't deal with because the nearest Indian tribal area is in Maine on the East Coast, that I'm aware of.
In tribal areas, to an extent, have to answer to the government, so somebody ought to know somebody.
Right. Yeah, that's true.
So, you know, a lot of our members and previous guests on the show, members of NINA or APCO. Are you a member of either one of those, and have you thought of trying to reach out to either organization to assist you in Oklahoma?
I am not a member of either of those. I know some of our supervisors in my center are members. I have reached out about that, but I know that there is a fee, I believe, for some of those. I do a lot of ACOG classes within Oklahoma, which has been awesome. They do a lot of different classes for different topics, which has been great. But as far as NINO and APCA, I'm not a member of those right now. Right.
The reason why I bring it up is, you know, for helping of the technical side when it comes time to actually speaking and working with some of the members of the government, you know, whether it be your state legislature, and they have resources that your average dispatcher, doesn't have, so it's not that you can't do it without them. Obviously, Jim, you've showed that it can be done without them, but if you're still struggling to get the ball rolling, it might not be a bad idea to reach out to them and see what they're doing is what I'm trying to, get across.
Right.
So let me learn a little more about yourself. I understand you have 8 years as a dispatcher.
I do, yeah.
You're a little bit into supervising, and you're a trainer.
Mm-hmm.
And what I like is the tactical dispatch. Have you been on any deployments?
I had a chance to go on a deployment in Oklahoma last year or the year before when there was a lot of flooding in a certain area of the state. So they dispatched one of our tactical dispatchers out, and they wanted a second one. So I was ready to pack my bags. I was ready to go. Next morning, I got a call that they pretty much had it under control and that I didn't have to go. So kind of a missed opportunity, but we do a lot of trainings and stuff outside. We do exercises, things like that, just to kind of keep us polished on what we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
And so that whole thing has been awesome. It's, being a dispatcher, you're kind of doing the same thing from day to day. But with tactical dispatching, you never know what you're going to run into. You could be working with other agencies that you don't normally work with. So that whole aspect of it is really exciting.
Reach out to them.
It goes to the point that we're not secretaries. Just like firefighters on the East Coast get caught up to go out to help fight with the forest fires on the West Coast. There's dispatchers that are asked to be sent down to Florida after a hurricane, or like you're mentioning, the flooding in the plain states. It's a specialized job that you need to understand how to do it, and go and assist other agencies that are in a time of need, because their own dispatchers just watched their own house wash down the river. So while they're tending to those needs and concerns, you're able to step in and provide that service that still needs to be provided to the communities in trouble.
As a supervisor, reach out and let them know that you are available 24/7, anytime, any incident. And like West Virginia, sometimes we need our rubber rafts more than anything else because of the flooding. But that's a good way to approach it also.
Yeah.
Is there so the tactical dispatching, I've seen that posted a couple of times on things, and whenever someone says tactical, I always think like active shooter, hostage,
SWAT,
something like that. So it's not, so just because it's tactical, it's really just any large scale incident.
Right. And we have a tactical dispatch team in our center. We had to actually fill out an application to apply. And it's a team of about, maybe 12 to 15 people right now. So even if we're working our day-to-day operations and say we have a barricaded subject on a radio or something like that, where they want to switch to another channel, if there is a tactical dispatcher that's working in the center at that time, they will pull them over to work that incident. So we don't just do outside things, we do stuff inside the center as well, depending on what the situation is.
Okay.
Kind of like a field comp.
Yeah.
So that
Yeah.
you're now only handling that particular incident. So you're allowing the day-to-day 911 calls and emergencies, they're being handled, but then
Right.
you have a group of dispatchers that can focus on the barricaded subject call, the 5-alarm structure fire, things like that.
Exactly. Yes.
And all these things are and having that experience as a tactical dispatcher, that's something else that you can add to your correspondence with the county and state officials. And as we were talking about earlier about the green states, there's 7 of them and more growing. That helps with the 911 Saves Act, which Congresswoman Torres and Congressman Fitzpatrick just reintroduced into Congress this past Thursday. And I think they did that because knowing that the 911 telecommunications week is coming up next week. So we need to jump on that train and start drumming up support for that as we're doing it at the county state level. We can also use these green states as an example of, to Congress, like, look, you got 7 states and more that want this to happen at the state level, and it's time to do it at the national level. So that's something else that we all, as every member, has to work on.
And I think too, since it was first introduced, just 2 years ago, I think, we've doubled. I mean, at that time I don't even think, because actually all 7 of them have passed in those 2 years.
That's right.
Because Texas was the first one, and they're just coming in September, will be their 2nd anniversary of being a first responder state. So I guess, we've come a long way in the 2 years since it was first introduced.
Yeah, for sure.
It's a lot of work, and don't get discouraged at all.
Yeah,
That's right.
I tell you, this is just awesome to see your work. I love the idea of the petition, and you're the first guest where we're taking someone who's in the midst of the process. Our first few guests have been from the states that have gone through it, and they kind of were talking about the pitfalls, what to avoid, and how to go about doing it. And here you are, you're in the middle of it. You're still fighting for it. You brought up some great points, and we talked about the fact that you can point to your neighboring states. So I just think you're doing an amazing job, and I hope that you continue to keep doing what you're doing.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to keep going. So the first year I started sending out letters. I just want people to know, like, if you're going to start this process and start sending out letters, don't get discouraged if you don't get a response back, because out of all the letters I sent, I think I maybe got 1 response back the whole time. So just don't let that discourage you. Just keep on going, try to get support. I reached out to a lot of lieutenants and officers that had connections with people in Congress as well, and I reached out to them. So, I mean, it's a lot of work, but if you just keep at it, I think your support will just start to grow. And I just don't want people to just give up after the first couple tries, because you're not going to get a response from every single person you send a letter to. It's just not going to happen. So Just keep that in mind as well.
Did you do physical letters, or did you just do a letter like via email?
I did physical letters, and that's what I continue to do, is just physical letters. Because I feel like the email thing, I don't know, it's just my opinion, but I don't know if they're actually going to get it, if their assistant's going to get it. So I actually to some of the members of Congress or state reps have 2 different addresses. I would send it to both. So that way all the bases are covered, and hopefully hopefully they'll see the letter.
Right.
But yeah, it's just my way of thinking it. You're not going to get anywhere unless you don't try, basically. So,
Right.
And the letters are personable.
What was that, Jim?
The letters are personable. It's directly to them, so you're asking them and reaching out to them instead of talking to figureheads.
Correct.
yes.
Yeah, and I also see that there's some people that do like the form letters, and I think they're great. But when you get those, to also add a few lines of personal note to really grab their attention. You know, especially if you do it at the beginning of that letter. That way it's not just a computer thing. Oh, it's just in one of those computer things, and they may discard it. Where if you actually open up the letter and then you allow that auto letter to be there too, because there's usually a lot of really good points that are made in the letter, but adding that personal touch in the beginning will kind of maybe grab their eye and force them to read the entire thing.
Yeah, I agree. And I do that in my letters as well. The very first paragraph is kind of who I am, what I do, how long I've been in this job, you know, that I'm a mom, and that I'm basically writing them to, you know, in an effort of support to just get us reclassified. And then I kind of go on to, you know, the reasons as to why we should be reclassified and what needs to be done. So if anybody ever needs any help getting a letter started or anything like that, I'm always open to people reaching out to me as well if they need help with that. So
that's awesome, because there are a lot of members that ask, like, I don't know what to do. Sorry, go ahead, Rebecca.
Sorry, James. I too put together a just a really basic, you know, introductory letter, and it's in our files page, as well as there's a talking points in there, so that, you know, after you send the letter, if you're contacted back, you know, if you need more talking points, or if you want to change the way I have just a, you know, basic, you know, I mean, it's just something to giving you an idea of where to start from. You know, you know, if you want to, I'm all for any of our members that want to start with that or change it if, you know, how they feel fit or, you know, anything like that. I kept it very basic. But just something that if someone really just didn't know the words to say, it was at least a first communication.
Yeah.
So any final thoughts?
I do want to say something, just maybe people that aren't dispatchers that might see this. So one of the points that I do make in the petition was, you know, just because dispatchers aren't there physically at these calls, like or firemen or EMTs, you know, it doesn't mean that we're not there emotionally. You know, a lot of us have issues with calls sometimes, and it really gets us emotionally. I know I've seen it myself and other coworkers. And that's just one aspect of the job that I think a lot of people don't really understand. So that's just one thing that really kind of sets a fire in me, because a lot of people don't know how this job emotionally can take a toll on us. So I hope people can kind of understand that better now, watching some of your guys' videos that you guys are doing as well, and maybe kind of see that, yeah, you know, we do need to be reclassified. You know, it's only fair to us and to our profession that we get recognized in the correct way. So
that's awesome. Jim, any final thoughts?
Well, we had a dispatcher in West Virginia that passed away a few weeks ago. He had 34 years service, and he was going to retire at the end of the month. Now, he had a lot of health problems, but it goes to show he handled a lot of stressful calls where there were pursuits. There was an officer killed in one incident, and but we got some great dispatchers around the country that is really there, but they don't know which way to start out.
Rebecca?
Yeah, I mean, some of that I kind of missed because I have people that want to voice their comments here. yeah, I just think just get the ball rolling, you know, in whatever way you guys, that anyone can get everything started, you know, and that's one thing I like about this group is we're here for as a sounding board. And, you know, if you really don't know what to do, ask the questions, you know, we'll get you started. And there's enough of us now, not just those in the green states, but those in the blue states that have the bills in front of their legislatures. You know, we'll talk to you guys and say, hey, this is what we did to get things rolling.
Yeah, no, I thank you for taking some time out on this Saturday afternoon to speak with us and share what you're doing, and everything you're saying is just spot on. You know, it takes time to get responses back. Use the petition as evidence to support what you're saying. Use the tactical dispatching experience to show the difference between a dispatcher and a secretary, and just keep doing what you're doing. Thank you very much for your time, and good luck. And I hope to see Oklahoma turn green as soon as possible.
Yes, thank you guys so much for the opportunity. You guys were doing an awesome job with your page, so I appreciate it, and good luck to everybody that's not green yet.
Awesome.
And as creator of the room, I'd like to thank you for being here today. I mean, it's been a great session.
Thank you so much.
All right. We'll talk to you soon. See you later.
All right.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.